Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Speak. I am your host, Emily Miller, intuitive guide and healer. Okay, guys, I have something that I think we need to have a little talk about today. And there is this term that people have been throwing around a little lightly. And I don't love that it is something that is becoming like a little trendy because of the implications of it. And we'll talk about those. Don't worry. The term is trauma bonding. So, the first time that I ever heard the words trauma bonding outside of like a, psychological abuse situation was when my daughter was having a sleepover. She had a group of girls over and whenever I walked into to her room, they were all sitting in like a little circle. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? Thinking, oh, this looks fun. And then one of the little girls was like, oh, we're trauma bonding. And I was like, say what? Why? That sounds awful, right? Trauma bonding? Who wants to do that? So they were like, come sit with us. And my daughter was like, yeah, mom, you know how this stuff works and how it goes. You can listen and see what we're talking about. And so I plopped down and I was like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And so one of them starts talking and she starts telling this story. I can't remember exactly what the story was, but I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, I can't believe she actually had to experience this. And then the other girls were like, oh my God, that's so awful. Totally like spilling all their emotions into this and completely bonding with this girl over her trauma and the things that she had experienced. And then the other one pops in. She's like, oh my God, I had an experience like that too. And this is what happened. And everybody's like, oh my God. Some of them start crying. And it's this like whole emotional like pull of teenage drama. And I was like, oh, this is not good. It's like, whoa, this is too much going on here, right? And so I just kind of let them be, let them do. My daughter and I like went back to this situation and later, and I'll tell you guys about that part too. But this was the first time I ever heard this term, and I was like, okay, I don't like this. Like this, why do we need to like sit in each other's like messy pool of bad emotions? Like, ew, I don't want that. So then it kept popping up. I was like, this has to be some sort of like trend or something. I don't understand because trauma bonding is not that. It's not sharing of experiences that like just with your friends, like bad stuff that you've experienced in your life or having like shared experiences with these bad things in your life. That's not what the term is initially meant for, although that's what it's kind of turned into. Trauma bonding is actually a relationship abuse dynamic where the abuser um, comes to the abusee, the person who's being abused, and they, have the abusive situation. They come in, the abuser, and shows remorse to the abusee. The abusee then forgives the abuser, and they bond in that way. And that kind of comes in disguised as love. And so they have this bonding moment and the cycle continues. So that is trauma bonding in the traditional sense. So in this sense, it is something that I think is being promoted via social media in order to get people to get into low, deep emotional states, which we know, if you've listened to the past few episodes, is something that is created to keep us out of our full power, to keep us down, right? So, again, I heard this term whenever I was at the gym yesterday. There's a girl talking like loudly, as people do sometimes at the gym, on her what are the things called in the ear? AirPods. And she's talking on the phone to a friend, and she was talking about how she was like horribly sick, and she used to get all these sinus infections. And then she was like, yeah, I had this happen and I had it happen over and over again. And the friend, I could tell just from the conversation that they were having, the friend was like, yeah, me too. And then she's like, yeah, I guess we're trauma bonded over sinus infections. And I was like, here we go again. Like, who wants to bond with somebody over the negative ick? So I was like, we got to have a discussion about this because trauma bonding is not it. It is not a thing that we want to be doing. It is not cool. It's not fun. And it actually is wildly detrimental to your own energy. So, trauma bonding, in essence, what you are actually doing whenever you are sharing these um, negative situations that you're in is you are emotionally courting into that person. You are creating a permanent bond if you don't know how to release this bond to that human being in a negative sense by feeling what they are feeling. You are opening up your energy to them. They are opening up their energy to you, and you are courting in and connecting to this person. And you are not courting in and connecting to this person via their light and their good and all of the beautiful, wonderful things that are happening in their lives. You are connecting to them based on their negative experiences in life. So that is going to be a negative emotional courting between the two of you that is literally energetically connecting you. And with that cord, you are continuously a channel between the two of you, connecting you to them for your and theirs negative experiences. So whenever I was in that room sitting there with my daughter and seeing her go through and listen to all of her friends and them crying and, getting sad and, physically going like, oh my God, like literally you could see them feeling each other's traumas. They were then courting into each and every one of those people in the room and negatively courting in. It was like I could literally see like a spider web of emotional cords that they were creating and bonding with each other and then keeping those because they didn't understand what was happening there and like just staying that way, courting in and holding on to each other's negative stuff, right? Like nothing about that sounds good, does it? I hope not. So, when you are doing that and you are having a moment with somebody, most people don't know this, that you are actually creating a cord with these people, that you are creating a connection to them that cannot be broken unless you have the right steps, which I do. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Um, that cord is going to stay there with that person. And we do this all the time. Like, especially, probably most likely, you're listening to this podcast, you were probably like a very empathetic person and you are able to pick up on people's energies very easily. I am, and that is something that I've learned how to rein in so that I am not, constantly courting into people all the time and connecting to them emotionally. So, what happens with this is that you are going to keep this cord with them at all times. And so you're traveling around your life with their energy corded and connected to you. We'll be, meeting someone in the grocery store or something. You're meeting someone for the first time at a coffee shop, wherever you are. You're meeting this person. And because we're humans and we like to have shared experiences with other people, it is very second nature to us to want to know more and to want to like feel into what people are talking about. And like I was saying a second ago, if you are here and listening to this, I'm sure that people come up to you all the time and just kind of spill their guts. They'll just be like, you know, I can't believe I just told you that. Why did I tell you all that information? I haven't shared that information with anybody. Why did I tell that to you? That's kind of like what happens with people like us is people just automatically want to tell you everything. So while that's good that we have that like, open presence about us and it brings people to us and people want to share things with us, it can also be to our detriment if we don't know how to prevent that courting in. So if you are that kind of person and someone's sharing that information with you, whatever it is, their deepest, darkest secret, something that they wouldn't tell anybody else, then you're probably courting into these people unintentionally because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. That's so sad, or that's so horrible, or oh my God, I can't believe you had to experience that. And we have this like shared moment with each other of, having that empathy for that person and the experiences that they had. And then also like going even a step further and connecting it to ourselves and being like, oh, yeah, I understand. I've had those kind of experiences too. And so I know how you feel. And then what that then is doing is connecting you to your emotions and putting you back into that emotional state that you were in whenever you had a similar experience to that person. So, you're opening up your energy and you're going, oh my gosh, I understand. I feel that way too. And then you're creating that cord with that person and you are now connected to them. So before I got into this work, like that's just how I went through life. Like I was always that person that people spilled their guts to. And then on top of that, I would always like really and like fully get into how they were feeling and what they were experiencing, and almost so much so that I took it on as my own. So just as like a little side note, that's where a lot of anxiety comes from for people who are like us and are always like in other people's energy kind of, is that um we're really like absorbing the feelings that they're feeling and then taking them on as our own, and then we're having just like this whole plethora of emotions that aren't even ours to begin with, right? So I actually have a whole podcast on that. I think it's called Our Anxiety Is Not Our Own. So if you want to go into a little deep dive on that, there's that podcast. So coming back to that is that now you are, running around in your life with all these other people's energy in it. So we have these cords, we have this shared energy now, and it's not the good stuff that we're sharing. While you can still have those, good emotional exchanges with them in it, the prevalent ones, the ones that show up more in the way that we move through the world, are going to be the negative ones because those are the easier ones for our brains to pick up on because we have created this neural pathway for that emotional experience. And so we can like keep picking up on them because we have that pathway. And remember, anytime we have that like neural pathway, the brain is always seeking out new ways to solidify that pathway and make it even stronger. So we are like love focusing this and finding all the negatives to keep building and building and building that negative pathway that we have there, because our brain is wanting to find the safety in it. It's familiar with it. It knows it. We understand, okay, I know what this negative emotion is, so I'm going to find more of it because the brain is only looking for familiar. It is not looking for what is actually best for us because familiar to the brain means safe. It doesn't mean that it's the best thing that's for us. It just means, oh, I know that. I'm going to take that route. So that's what we do here a lot is snuffing out those old, familiar, safe, quote unquote, neural pathways, remove them, put in new ones so that you guys can have this life to where, remember we talked about in the last episode, a little scary, a little crazy, so that you can get these new neural pathways that are not safe to the brain, but they are safe to our higher self. They are safe to our us that is the one that wants to be on that aligned path. So when we're holding on to all of these other people's negative stuff, we're then not only solidifying our own negative beliefs, but we're solidifying their negative beliefs within us also. So sometimes it kind of seems that these negative beliefs that we hold on to, like, it's a lot of work getting rid of these things, but it's really not hard work. It's just repetitive work. Because as many times as you have solidified those negative beliefs into your brain, into your neural pathways, into your energy, it does not take that many times to get rid of them. We can do that in about 60 repetitions. So just because you have a neural pathway that's there and that has become pretty strong doesn't mean that you have to keep it there. I've said this before, our brains are always changing. They are always evolving. You can always create new pathways. You can always create new things. We are always learning. We are always growing. Our brains can grow just the same as our muscles can grow. Like we can work them, we can change them, we can shift the shape of them, we can make them bigger, we could make them longer, we can make them leaner. We can do all of these things with the muscles in our body. The same thing we can do with our brain. You just have to exercise it. You have to work it. Um, you have to move it. And so if you are staying in the same pathways, you're staying in that old belief system, your brain is just kind of hanging out. It's sedentary, it's not moving. But whenever you get into this work and you get to be able to find where those negative pathways are and what sort of connections you have going on within your brain, what are those belief systems that you are still holding and still working that aren't actually working for the you that you want to be. So you've got these old ones, and with the new ones put in and the exact right new ones that you want to start programming in to get the results that you want. So you want to snuff out that old, belief of not deserving, not worthy, not special, not perfect as you are, all of these old beliefs that we don't want to hold on to, and we start creating new ones. We start creating those beliefs of worthy and unconditional self-love and that you are perfect just the way you are and that nothing needs to be changed and that there is a world of abundance and you deserve that abundance and you deserve a life that is passionate and full and all the things that people say, oh, you can't have that. That's not for you. Or you're telling yourself that, right? So that's what it takes is coming out of those old beliefs and working the brain. And while there are a lot of beliefs in there, once you start building and working towards these new beliefs, those old ones get snuffed out. They are covered. Whenever they aren't fed, whenever you aren't giving your brain proof for those old beliefs and you start giving it proof for the new ones, it's like, okay, cool. I don't need those old beliefs anymore. I can take on these new ones. These new ones are now the safe ones because I have proof and I am familiar with them. So I'm going to keep going with them. That's all it takes. You just have to know what the beliefs are and then change them and start focusing on the new ones, right? So, with this trauma bonding and you holding on to all of these other people's negative, icky stuff, there is a couple of things I want to tell you about this. So, first off, the first thing that is really amazing once you know about this is that you can cut those cords. You can be done with that and you can recover all of your own soul pieces from that person. So you don't have to keep that cording with them just because you trauma bonded with them. You can get those soul pieces back. Not only can you get the soul pieces back that you have shared with those people that you've trauma bonded with, you also cord into all people that you have very strong emotional situations with. Um, You are corded into your parents. You are corded into past partners. Anyone you've had any sort of sexual experience with, you are corded into them. You are corded into all of your friends who you've ever felt that trauma bond situation with. You are probably even corded into the neighbor across the street who shared a story with you about their grandmother who passed away from cancer, and you felt empathetic towards them in that. So there are lots of cords that you can be holding onto, and they come from so many different places. So you are holding on to those negative energetic exchanges via your parents, via ex-partners, via friends and neighbors and whoever, like people that you emotionally cord into. I think the first one that I found was a coworker who used to always come to me and tell me all of her stories that she had about fights that her and her husband were getting into. Like that one was because at the time it was like super prevalent in my life. And so that was the first one that popped in, and I was like, ooh, let's get rid of that one. And so I have a whole entire process of where we can cut those emotional negative cords. And I do that a lot in my healing sessions because we always want to get back to a place where we are holding all of our own energy, just like we've talked about with contagion healings and contagion shields and putting up your shields in that way because you don't want to have other people's thoughts and feelings and beliefs and emotions that way. You can also shield up like that and then cut the cords from those people so that you don't have to share in their negative experiences. One other good thing that's really good about this cord cutting situation is whenever I cut those cords for you, you will still be able to share the positive energetic exchanges. This is only cutting out that negative energetic exchange. So we'll cut that, get you back all of your own energy, give them back theirs, and then you are free and clear of those negative, energetic, emotional exchanges. So that's something that's really cool. It's one of my most favorite things. And actually it's really interesting to see what happens whenever you start cutting those cords because you are coming back to your own energy. So sometimes you'll get like some physical symptoms from it. A lot of times people just get really tired or maybe get a headache, something like that. So you can kind of actually feel it in your physical body when that energy is coming back to you and integrating back into your own system, which is amazing physical proof that you needed it back because it's yours. And then feeling it come back into your body is really cool. Um, and then another thing that I wanted to talk about with the um, sharing of these negative energetic exchanges is that you don't have to do that. So, me being an empath and being super empathetic towards other people and people just naturally coming up to me and sharing their information with me, I had to figure out like, okay, I gotta stop this. I can't keep cording into every single person who I'm talking to. This is a lot of work clearing all these cords all the time. So, what you have to do then is stop it from like the jump. Whenever that person starts talking to you and they start spilling their guts and they start telling you all of their lifelong stories and deepest, darkest secrets, is choose not to court into them. You get to do that. You get to say, okay, I'm not courting into this person. And so you're allowed to do that, and that's fully okay. So remember that also is that you don't have to build those cords. It's just something like as human beings, we naturally do because we're curious and we are emotional beings. And so we bond on that level. So not just in like the good, happy moments, but also in the negative hardship moments too. Like that's just what we do as human beings. And this is one really cool way to like sidestep that and not have to have other people's energy in your energy. So there's all sorts of different techniques that I have within my healings where I can help you to shield up from, tapping into other people's energies and then also keep from emotionally connecting with them in those moments of trauma bonding because that's not a good thing. While some people think, oh, yeah, it's cool to have shared experiences with other people, it is, but do you want to keep their energy with you? No, we don't want that. We always, always want to be in our own pure energy. I don't want other people's trauma. I don't want other people's, you know, bad negative experiences clogging up my energy. I have enough stuff that I'm dealing with on my own. I don't need theirs. I've got enough beliefs here already that I'm clearing out. So, think about that too. And I want you to think about that this week. When somebody starts coming up to you and they're like, oh my God, can you believe this happened? Because that's just what we do. Choose not to court into them. Choose not to. Listen, be still, a good friend, a good wife, a good, neighbor, whatever the thing is, listen to it, but you don't have to emotionally connect to them. You don't have to court into them. And the second best thing about that, not having to court into them, is if you do, because sometimes we just get emotional because we can't help it. You can cut that cord. You don't have to keep it. You don't have to hold on to it. It's not something that you're bound to for life. Once you are, able to know that it's something that you don't have to have, let me know. We can cut some cords. It is fun, fun stuff. And it is amazing once you get back into your own gorgeous, beautiful energy. And so just remember that today. You do not, or this week, you don't have to cord in. If you want to see how many cords you might have currently corded into you, and which ones might be the most impactful to start cutting, you can sign up for one of my mini reads. I have those on my website, as well as a new energy restoration. It's a guided energy restoration that you can listen to whenever you want. I love to listen to mine in the morning so that I can start my day fresh with my energy full and ready to go. So that is available for you on my website as well, both completely free. And I have two new mini series on my YouTube channel that are about control and how you have it, and also how the body talks to us. So there's those two really fun mini series that are available for you guys on my YouTube channel. So go there, check those out, and I hope you have a gorgeous, gorgeous week.